Thai Buddhist temple. I'm Dr. Kongsak Panpatit, secretary to this Buddhist temple, Wat Pasi Ratanaram, the temple of beautiful gems. That's the name of it. Tonight is a great pleasure to introduce to you Ajarn Khemananda, who was here 7 years ago, that gave us a talk on Buddhism and insight, meditation, practice, and taught us back then. And from that trip, resulted into the book, No Not a Thing, Insights into Dynamic Meditation, when he was traveling in this country back in 1991 to teach at several places, in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, and Lake Carmel, New York, and also at St. Louis, as well as over West Coast. And I have known him since then. He became my friend, like my big brother, my teacher. He's well known internationally, not only as an author of more than 20 books in Thai and English, also a poet, artist. His work has been recognized internationally, and more importantly, he's a great insight meditation master that can help you a lot when you have any questions and so on. He will direct you in the right direction. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you Ajarn Khemananda.
Good evening. Since English is not my mother tongue, to speak English is very hard work for me. I hope for your forgiveness for my idle and clumsy English. I need your help to detect the meaning and missing pronunciation of my English speaking. Lack of that good English, I must read some article of myself to you. The topic tonight is the touch of life possible for all of us? The topic is larger, the inquiry on the possible establishment of real relationship among people on the basis of insight and mercy, known as peace. Obviously, the most obstacle on this being is, on the one hand, the encroachers of chance to truly learn the lessons of peace. And on the other, that chance are wasteful in vanity and always attached to sensualism. In both cases, they depend on the value system of the society and how people practice it. The knowledge in which this article aims at is the insight into the nature of oneself, or self-nature, and the feeling of the oneness of humankind, involving all sentient beings. The lack of this understanding is the causes of sufferings and conflicts of both the individuals and nations in all aspects of evolution of humankind. In general, history of human is the story of human striving to live, to be free from sufferings, limitations, and captivations, In order to solve the problems, they learn in causes, and hence avoid problems or prevent the coming conflicts, both caused by human behaviors and by nature. Our civilization has been established by these facts since the early of time. I believe that human of pre-social order, he or she has no self-image to identify oneself with. Those reflections in the water or an individual appearance are not the meaning of self-image here. Self-image is the production of social order in a period and duration of time when divisions and separations took place. Division and separation of duties have gradually classified caste and class system and finally reflect the images of the individual. The ideas of self, I believe, simultaneously arose with the discrimination and nomination of things, in which language began its role. The cave paintings of ancient men tell us how they have searched to know and understood the existence of the self-image. They somehow painted the images of animals, or men or women in search of meaning of self, as well as nominated and identified things from those names. To name things is to imagine out. In other words, to imagine things toward their names. This capability of imaginative power awoke in human, which biologically and mentally differentiated him or her from other species. And according to this potentiality, mankind needs to understand his genesis and destiny. Therefore, the path are recalled since then. Over time, it possesses the enormous knowledge and technologies. Our knowledge is gathering from observation and imagination is so wide and deep. But we also wonder that whether our inner life is fulfilled, our demand, and let's try our journey. Or we are still hang on the what way to go, confusing with our enormous knowledge. Merely gain more comfortable way of living than our ancestors cannot assure that we are safe as long as our inner life is still disturbed by fear, anxieties, discontentment, and so on. We are somehow even worse than those who lived in and by nature in the early of history of humankind. In the present day, it seems the understanding and searching for the truth, being God, Tao, or Dhamma, and the crises that we has been causing to the world by way of the unaware living are simultaneous destruction of natural environment and other declinations somehow urge us to see the alternative, that is, intellection and spiritual wakefulness should be considered to find its balance and harmony on the basis of reality and human needs, in hope that such crisis can be our turning point in the right time. We truly need to understand our self-nature and the role of self-images clearly in order to turn to the ultimate and universal truth. Self-images is a production of time and attachment. Its dependent origination is as a person holds a torch of fire and moves it round in the dark. The circle of fire seems real, or as if it is a hologram. As we identify ourselves with that virtual reality, hence we ignore the self-nature, which essentially is the pure awareness, and habitually be captured by conception thought of the self-images, and are dictated to act, to say, to think, centralizing from the egoistic feeling and self-important. Ignore the holistic sense thereby. When we are aware of our self-nature, the awareness itself is sharpened and so potent by all kinds of movements, both physical and mental, external and internal. Its capability is to transmute our life to the higher sensitivity and already to recognize the one whole. Such reality cannot be perceived by merely thinking of, since it is a matter of self-realization. Whenever the thought process is replaced by the continuous self-awareness, then thoughts are naturally ceaseless. This extempore experience is the thought of one's self-nature at the end of all projections of the mind. The awareness awares into its very intrinsic nature without any media and recognize the one whole. This kind of thought, in my sense, in my view, is what the scriptures, myths, fables, and fairy tales represent in many ways. As in the fairy tales of the 14th century, in which the atmosphere of the Western world was still governed by God, angels, and fairies, prior to the Renaissance, which was governed and directed by the geniuses. Our heroines of purity was left for uncountable time under the curse of Lady of the Dark, till awoke at once by the first kiss or the first touch from the Prince of Life. The touch that awakes life back to the great wedding with penetrated happiness and peace to the whole legion of life. That is Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. I am humbly saying with respect to the Catholic that the touch of the one whole beyond self-images is the ultimate baptizing to be the true Catholic. since the Catholic means the ultimate and universal truth. And I'm also cordially saying to the Buddhists that the thought is awakening of the body-mind, in which is firmly covered by the concept of me or mind. With respect and wish for forgiveness, if my saying is dissatisfy the Hindus and the Muslims, that the process of being the Muslim and moksha are at the end of the war of conception thought, which is a symptom of suffering and conflict and struggle of mankind. The passage of all religions that frees from captivation of all egoistic feeling and selfishness. I also believe that the thought is the maker of peace and happiness under the universal name of truth, and is free from limitation of being Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Sikhs, or Buddhist. Besides this, I sincerely believe that the way to the one world family of global villages is possible by the bridge of this thought. From the thought, it naturally reveals the insight and purity of one's heart, the very sources of the non-alienated of knowledge and mercy. Hence, it is the foundation of faith that will support art and science to keep on the right track. Since the essence of mind is a truth beyond thought, Buddhistically, it is unspeakable nirvanic nature. All of us are of that primal virtue in all generations. The gaps between people to people, state to state, are generated by the misregime and grasping of hallucination as the real, hence ignore the ultimate ordinariness. The maxim that love your God wholeheartedly and love your neighbors as love yourself should not merely practice among the Hebrews and the Christians and at the altar. It should apply that truthfulness in every aspect amongst the individual and the status. The environment crisis tells us that time for separation and non-cooperation is over, and also over for the big and empowerment countries that fail to see the significance of the small one. As a matter of fact, the big are ever preserved and supported by the small, and also the small are always reserved and saved by the big. On the contrary, if the small are collapsed, the bigs are also collapsed, since each one depends on each other. This very fact should be the fundamental understanding amongst people and among nations for the future of mankind and other species. I will not aim my talk at Buddhism or to represent a new technique in meditation or any method. I am simply telling all of you how I feel the significance of the self-awareness that it is a guidance to feel free from captivation of conception thought and all grasping. Realizing this thought is not depend on being an Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Sikhs, or Buddhist, and so on. And also not depend on being American, French, British, Jewish, or Arab. It is not depend on being male or female, high educated or low educated, rich or poor. Thank you for listening. I hope you understand my poor pronunciation. I hope all of you, 7 years ago when I came to this state, a friend here asked me that, what car book to bring with you to this state? I told him that I'd bring only one book, Snow White. Sounds funny, but that is true. Because Snow White is a fairy tale that symbolizes the purity of life. And I wonder that why they use a seeming wrong grammar, Snow White. It should be white snow. White is Snow White. So it symbolizes something deep. And very funny that when Snow White sent to death into the jungle, and he found 7 dwarfs, and one of the name of the dwarfs is Mr. Sleepy, and all dwarf mean the wolf of life. This is my interpretation. Once when the Snow White met and accept our dwarfness, then she feel really happy. But in fact, the 7 dwarfs doing something very important. They work at the gold mine. So, I'm black skin, and some of you are very white and very beautiful. So if I need to be white like you, I will suffer. In the last day, then I accept my black skin. When I accept my black skin, I feel free from that desire. So when we accept our dwarfness, I'm right in pronunciation, dwarfness, then Snow White feel happy, very happy with the 7 dwarfs. And nearly the end of the story, Lady of the Dark, or her stepmother, sent an apple with a poison, remember? And after Snow White took it, she fell and nearly died. The 7 dwarfs put her into a coffin, a transparent coffin, which symbolizes something deep spiritually. And finally, the Prince of Light came and kissed her, and she awoke into life again, and the great wedding at the end of the story. The structure of the story is concerning the experience in religions, in practice of life. Share the same structure with Chataga's story, the birth story of the Buddha. That is great. So the fairy tale in 14th century is great indeed. Sleeping Beauty also, and Beauty and the Beast. The center of this fable or fairy tale is at the kiss from the Prince of Light. And you may think that the Prince of Light is Christ, but from my understanding is just Christhood. My English is very limited, and I can't think in this term in time. If you has any problem or question, that's okay. But don't hope that I can answer every question. Ja, ให้แนะนำการสอนด้วย Dr. Kumsak suggests me to demonstrate the so-called dynamic meditation for all of you. The so-called dynamic meditation is we call dynamic meditation because we meditate on the basis of movement. This difference and distinguishes from the static one. Most of you, all of you, I guess, are used to the static form of meditation. That you cross your leg, stretch your body, put your hands together, and close your eye, and breathe in and out, and focus your mind, your mindfulness on a certain selected object. That is a static form, and aim to induce calmness. And calmness is the goal of static meditation. But dynamic is totally different. Dynamic meditation do not aim to calmness, but to alertness of mind. So the dynamic form is so different from static form. You have no need to close your eye. You keep the eye open, but don't focus to any certain object. Openness and see things panoramically, and lay your two palms on your knee. If you like to practice with me, like this. And first you move your hand up, your right palm up. While you move, you feel of that movement. Here, stop, and stop. The left hand side. Stop, move, stop, move, stop, move, stop, palm down. It's finished. So simple, somehow too simple. But the significance of this method is that our problem in life is psychologically is very complex and very hard to solve. So the instrument should be simple. If the instrument is complex too, then it causes up into many problems in using it.